Welcome back to the channel, and in this video I am going to give you all the detail about steering the bike. Yeah, it was dry as a bone when I set off about 10 minutes ago, and of course in typical North Cumbrian style it's now raining. So I'm hoping I can avoid the worst of the rain just looking around because I haven't got a waterproof kit on. But in this video I'm going to look at steering. Now, steering is part of cornering, but cornering is a much broader subject. So some of the things I'm not going to look at in detail in this video are things like positioning on approach to the corner, speed assessment for corners, all that kind of stuff. You'll find those in other videos. This video is specifically about how we get the bike to turn into a corner, to stay nicely balanced while it's in the corner, to accurately place the bike where we want it to be, into, through and out of the corner. And some of the things I'm going to talk about, like counter steering for example, we'll have a chat about counter steering, you'll be doing anyway. You'll just naturally be doing it without even realising it. The difference you'll find with counter steering is that when you consciously start doing it, you'll feel a massive improvement. You'll start to feel what a difference that makes to the way you steer the bike into a corner. So, let's go through each different individual element of steering the bike. Let me talk you through what I do. And remember, this is road riding, not track riding. Okay, so the first thing is body position. On the track you're going to be encouraged to take a much more extreme body position. You'll be moving your bum around on the seat, hanging off the bike. You'll learn how to get the knee down in corners. And it's not necessarily the knee being down that matters, it's where your body weight is. Let's look at the advantage of that to start with. So body position on track, further you can lean your body into a corner, the less you've got to lean the bike. So the advantage of leaning your body right off the bike into a corner on track is that the bike can remain more upright. And the more upright the bike is, the more stable it is and the more you can accelerate. Always stop in the distance you can see to be clear. But on the track, your number one priority is carrying as much speed through that corner and onto the next straight as you possibly can, and that's not your priority on the road. Yes, we want to ride briskly, we want to ride progressively, but as you just saw with those sheep, there could be anything around the next corner, and our priority in relation to riding on the road is to be able to stop in the distance we can see. Doesn't mean you have to ride slowly, does mean you've got to build that safety factor in. So we're not going to be hanging off the bike, but we do still want a bit of an advantage of body position in the corner. I do still want to keep the bike as upright as I can. So on approach to a corner, what I'm going to do, and there's a left-hander coming up here, is in terms of body position, on approach to this corner, while I'm doing everything else, I'm going to lean my shoulders in just before we get to the corner. Now I'm not moving my bum on the seat. My bum's staying absolutely smack in the middle of the seat, and that allows me to keep my knees clamped on the side of the tank to give me some stability. It allows me to keep my core nice and firm, and it allows me to keep my arms nice and relaxed on the handlebars. But on approach to that left-hander, you'll see that I just move my body weight into the left a little bit. I just move from the hips, just bend my shoulders in towards the corner. So whichever way the corner's going, just lean your shoulders in that way a little bit. There's a couple of advantages to that. The first is the one that we've discussed. It shifts your body weight onto the inside of the corner, and it means you don't have to lean the bike as much. Might only be 1 or 2 degrees difference, but it's a difference. So the bike remains more stable through the corner. And secondly, what it does is it prepares you for the next phase of steering the bike, which is to initiate the turn with counter steering. So if on approach to this next right-hander, and I know we're going international, but I keep the speed slow at the moment, if I move my body weight in before I lean the bike, it bends this right arm. So the right arm is bent, the left arm is slightly straighter. Same for this one here, left-hander. I'll move my body weight in and it bends the left arm, and what that does is it prepares me to push the inside bar away. And pushing the inside bar away on approach to a left-hander is counter steering. That's starting the bike turning into the corner. So for this right-hander, move my body weight in. It prepares the right arm to push the steering, push the handlebar away on the right hand side to start the bike turning into the corner. So going back to the beginning, I said I wasn't going to cover all aspects of cornering. I'm not going to talk about positioning. We know on approach to a left-hander we should be towards the centre line, and on approach to a right-hander we should be into the near side. When you get that position right, as we're moving position, just gently shove and move your shoulders in towards the inside of the bend. And when you get there, you can initiate the turn with a little bit of counter steer. And as you're going around the corner, as you're negotiating the turn, keep your body weight in towards the inside of the corner, whichever way you're going. You know, we're keeping an eye on the limit point. We're looking at where we want to get the gas in and where we want to start accelerating in the corner. And it's easier to accelerate the bike the more upright it is. The more upright it is, the more stable it is, the easier it is to accelerate the bike. The more lean angle you've got in a corner, the more tyre grip you're using, the less able you are to get on that gas and really accelerate the bike. So for this one, I'm keeping my body weight inside the bend all the way around. Let's overtake these. Keep your body weight in towards the centre of the corner all the way around. So the next element we're going to look at is how we initiate the turn of the bike. How do we get the bike to start turning? Well, I mentioned counter steering briefly before, and I have done other videos where we look at counter steering. But the basic rule of counter steering is you start the bike turning by actually turning the handlebars very briefly in the opposite direction to where you want to go. So here I'm turning right, and I've started the bike turning, but I just briefly turning the handlebars left. Here again, just turn the handlebars slightly left, and the bike turns into the corner very nicely. Up ahead I've a little bit of a up ahead I've got a little bit of a left-hander on approach to that. We get the right position on approach, move my body weight in, and then just very gently push the left handlebar away. So the physics of counter steering are quite straightforward, they're quite simple, and believe me, you've been doing it since you learnt to ride a bike age 4 or 5. You've been counter steering. Look at this, get the flock out of here. Just think about it logically for a second. On approach to this left-hander, if I turn the handlebars to the right, the bike is going to want to go to the right and the weight is going to go to the left, like that. Now, to be clear, I'm not steering it right and holding the steering to the right, otherwise the bike will just completely tip over. What I'm doing is I'm initiating the turn with a momentary counter steer and then returning the steering to a sort of almost a neutral point once we've got the bike lent into the corner. So coming up is a left-hander. I'm going to position to the centre line. I'm going to start the steering by pushing the handlebar away from me there. And then as soon as it's into the corner, I stop pushing the handlebar away, I relax my grip on the handlebars, and then steer the bike around the corner. Trust me, you have been doing this all the time you've been riding bikes, bicycles, bikes, motorbikes, everything through, you know, from 50cc mopeds up to great big Harley Davidsons. This is the way that you get the bike to steer through the corner. You've just not been consciously doing it. Push the right bar in and the bike tips in. Now, one of the other real benefits of counter steering and learning to counter steer properly is a really common cause of accidents for motorcyclists, especially less experienced motorcyclists, is just losing it on a bend and going off into the trees and the bushes and the furniture at the side of the road. They lose confidence in the amount of grip that the bike's got. And if you're halfway around a corner and it either tightens up a little bit or it's tighter than you thought it was going to be, your natural reaction, especially as an inexperienced rider, is to roll off the gas and get on the brakes. Either just rolling off the gas or rolling off and getting on the brakes. And of course, when you do that in a corner, what does the bike do? Well, let's find out. I'm going to do it in a corner down here. So I'm going to this left-hander. I'll roll off, a brake, and the bike stands up. Not doing it to the extreme because I didn't want to exit the other side of the white line there. But as soon as you start to try and lose speed in a corner, the bike goes exactly where you don't want it to. It goes further off. And that increases the panic, so you get harder on the brakes. So the bike stands up even more, and eventually, you know, on a good day you're into the ditch and the hedge, on a bad day you're into oncoming traffic. So if you can keep your wits about you and you go into a corner too quickly, just counter steer it in a little bit more. Push that inside handlebar away from you just a little bit more. We always ride with a safety margin on the road, and it might feel like you're too quick in a corner, but there'll still be a little bit of grip left in those tyres, and we want to use it to get you round the corner. You start rolling off the gas or braking, the bike's going to straighten its line and it's going to chuck you off the road. So counter steering, it's really good to learn to consciously counter steer. And I want you to do this next time you're out for a ride. Next time you're approaching a little corner like this, just consciously, just push that handlebar away from you. The left-hand handlebar for left-hand bends, the right-hand handlebar for right-hand bends. Some people describe it the other way around. So for a left-hander, for example, they might pull the right-hand handlebar in a little bit to initiate the turn. It's up to you how you want to do it. My preference is just to push the inside bar briefly away, just to get the bike to start to turn into the corner. When your pace is quick, you'll find that that push gives you a really nice, immediate, positive turn into a corner. Now, just to complicate things a little bit more, at the same time as you're initiating the turn, so let's talk about a left-hander, for example. So you're initiating a turn into a left-hander by pushing that left-hand handlebar just away from you very briefly to start the turn. The other tip I'm going to give you is with your opposite foot, so I'm going through a right-hander here, but for a left-hander, you're going to push with your left hand on the handlebar very briefly, but at the same time, you're just going to load up your right foot peg. So it's a sort of diagonal movement. If you push with your left, you load up with your right. And if you push with the right, for a right-hander, you're going to load up with the left. Now, I'm not saying I want you to push really hard on that outside foot peg, but effectively what it does is it gives you something to push against. So if I don't do anything else and I just push that left-hand handlebar, yeah, I'll get a response, but I can feel the bike just moving away from me under it, and it encourages my body weight to stay upright in the corner. Whereas if I load my right foot peg and I push that handlebar away, my body's much stiffer, but I'm staying relaxed. It's giving me something more physical to push against. So for this right-hander coming up, I'm going to push with my right hand and brace my left foot on the outside foot peg. Stiff is the wrong word to use. I still want your body to be relaxed and I still want it to be leant towards the inside of the corner, but it's physically giving you something to push against rather than just pushing your body weight back. If you don't brace that left foot, you'll push and you know the equal or opposite reaction, your shoulder will go back as well. It gives you something more physical to push against. So, what have we covered so far with steering? We've covered body position on approach to a corner. We've covered counter steering, how to get the bike to initially turn into the corner, and how to use counter steering in a corner to get yourself out of trouble. And we've covered anchoring with the opposite foot, just giving yourself something physical to push against as you turn the bike into the corner. So let me just get through Appleby, let me get on something a bit twistier again, and we'll move on to the next element. So the next thing we're going to look at is exactly that, where you're going to look. I don't care what level of experience you've got, how much instruction or how little instruction you've had in the past. At some point you will have heard from a bike instructor, look where you want to go. And it's probably the best piece of advice you can take from this video above everything else. If your vision's short, if you're looking down here, if you're looking in front of the bike there, you're not leaving yourself enough time to deal with things. You're reacting to where the bike is and what it's doing. People who look short have 3 or 4 goes at getting round a corner. They go around like a 50p piece. There is a phenomenon called target fixation, and it's a real thing. It was studied during the 40s and 50s. fighter pilots, because they have this habit of hitting the ground for no apparent reason. And it turned out it's because they were looking at it. The idea is that if you look at something, you'll go towards it. You ever looked at a pothole and thought, there's a pothole there, mustn't hit it, ba-dump, and then you hit it? It's because you were looking at it. So if you see a pothole, don't look at the pothole, look at the gap to either side of it, because that's what you'll hit. But when you're steering a bike, if you look through the corner to where you want to end up, look at where your exit point should be. It's really important if you do any track riding this, look to your exit curve, because that's where you'll go, that's where you'll naturally steer the bike. Now obviously you're looking at a number of things when you're riding on the road, and you should be scanning, your eyes should be flicking about all over the place, looking at different things. You're going to look at the limit point, aren't you, just to keep reassessing the speed for the corner. You're going to be looking across the top of hedges and through Cheshire railings and things like that, looking for any hazards in the distance. I'm with a 30 limit here. Oh, I'm going around a corner, I'm looking onto the driveways, I'm looking at these vehicles to see if anybody's crossing in between them, I'm looking to see if there's any vehicles reversing out, looking at this sand or grit or whatever it is on the road surface here. It looks like there might have been a spillage or something, so I'm going to slow down a little bit for that. The water coming across the road. So there's loads of things you're going to be looking at and looking for when you're riding along. But to get the bike through a corner in the direction you want to go, look where you want to go, imagine your line through the corner, draw it on the road surface in your mind if you like. Picture where the bike's going to go and look at the furthest point. And if you do that, that's naturally where you will go. And the other element I just wanted to very quickly cover in this video is what you do with the throttle in the corner. Now, very recently, the last video I uploaded was about throttle in the corner. There's much more detail there about how we get on the throttle in the corner and how it's two phases to applying the throttle. One to keep the bike stable and keep it at the speed that it's at, and then the second phase to accelerate the bike out of the corner. And in there I talk about, you know, how it keeps the bike balanced in the corner, how it balances the grip between the front and the rear tyres, how it makes better use of the grip of that larger, fatter rear tyre on the bike, and how actually, all things taken into account, a bit of throttle or even quite a bit more throttle in the corner, keeping the bike balanced, will improve your confidence, will increase your confidence in cornering. But let's think about it in terms of cornering. We do everything else, we set ourselves up for the corner. At the point where you're counter steering the bike, initiating the turn, I want you to be on the gas just a little bit, because if you don't, the bike will slow down. And then as you get through the corner, you see the limit point going away from you. Well, I want you to be winding the gas on. As you're standing the bike up, it's getting more and more stable, it can stand more and more acceleration out of the corner. So we're actually going to be on the throttle, we're going to be putting some positive acceleration into, through, and then out of the corner. At no point should we be decelerating or slowing the bike. I explained why earlier on. It's a bad idea to roll off the gas or squeeze the brakes in a corner, because the bike will stand up and it'll just go off in the direction it's pointing. Positive throttle is the opposite of that. It's going to keep the bike pointing in the direction you want it to go, and that's what steering the bike is all about. Get it pointing in the direction you want to go. So what I'm going to do now, if you know this road, you'll know where I'm heading. I'm heading towards Melmerby on the Hartside Pass. So I'm just going to do the western side of the Hartside Pass, travelling east from Penrith direction up towards Alston, because it's a really good twisty bit of road, and it's a really good road to practice steering and cornering in general. I'm going to apply all the good principles of cornering up that road, but I'm particularly going to talk about what I'm doing to steer the bike through the corners. So join me in Melmerby at the start of the Hartside Pass. Okay, we are at the start of the Hartside Pass, travelling from Penrith towards Alston. Travelling west to east. So let's look at these principles of steering. Get this right-hander to start with, shoulders in. Anchor with the left foot, just push the right handlebar down to initiate the turn, and I'm on the gas all the way through the corner and accelerating out. Left-hander coming up. I'm not going too far offside because of the oncoming vehicles, but just push left, push right, and push left again to get the bike to tip nicely into the corner. A little push right here, and I'm easing off the gas, down a gear, and then pushing the right handlebar down to initiate the turn. At the same time, as I push left there, I'm anchoring with my right foot. So for this one, I'm going to push the right handlebar away and anchor with my left foot just to initiate the turn, and you'll hear that I'm on the gas right from the start of the corner, because I want to maintain my speed going into the corner and then accelerate out depending on what's coming next. So this our position, looking where I want to go, pushing the bar down. Here it tightens up, so I'm going to push the bar down even more, and then push the left bar down here, anchoring with the right foot. A little bit of gas. Just had a little wobble in that one there, turned in a little bit early. It's one of the issues with learning to consciously counter steer a bike into a corner, is that it really does steer in. You really do get a very positive turn into the corner. Lucky on the GS, I don't need to be up and down the gears too much. Plenty of torque in whatever gear I'm in. Nice roll on the gas there. Catch up with these slow moving cars up in front. So near side position, down a gear, push the right bar in. As it tightens this corner, push the right bar in more. Keep your body weight into the inside of the corner. Down to second gear, push the left hand handlebar in. And then look for the opportunity to overtake coming off the bend. So up ahead, the road's bending round to the right. Take a position towards the near side. Get my speed right on the brakes. Push the right handlebar in, anchor with the left foot. Now I'm going to push the left handlebar in, anchor with the right foot, squeeze the gas. Roll it on and accelerate out the bend. That's what we like about motorcycling. Roll a bit more. Roll a bit more. You notice the terms I'm using as well to describe what I'm doing. Rolling on the gas. Easing the bike into the corner with a bit of counter steer. Now I'm going to counter steer left, push the right push the right peg. Look for the cyclist. I want to get past that cyclist before he gets to this corner. So it puts me out of position, but then I can adjust my position into the near side, down 2 gears. It's a tight one this. Little bit of counter steering, anchor with my left foot, on the gas all the way around, then picking up the gas. Not too far to the offside because the oncoming car. Just gently tipping that bike in with the counter steering and the anchoring. But it feels so nice when you get it right, it really does. Push the right bar in here, anchor with the left foot. Weather's just closing in a little bit up here. Always moving the body weight into the inside of the bend. You'll find that moving that body weight just quite often just initiates the turn. If you watch it into this one, moving the body weight in just initiates the turn into the bend. Moving it there, to the right, to the left. Love it. Love it! So that's it for this video. That's all the detail about steering the bike. Hopefully you found it useful. It's the sort of video I would have found really useful when I was starting out in my motorcycling journey, but at any point really. It is worthwhile just revisiting the basics of what you're doing with the bike's controls, what you're doing with your body weight, what you're doing with your throttle in the corner, where you're looking as well. Very important to look where you want to go. So thanks for watching. Don't forget to go and have a look at the website, racelocal.com. There's loads more information there about advanced and performance driving and riding, information about the books that I've written. and about how you can get a day's driver or rider coaching or with me. If you fancy a drive out or a ride out on some of these roads, drop me a message and we'll sort something out. But for now, I'm going to get an ice cream and then I'm going to make my way back down towards Penrith on the same road. So thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.